there will be no real non-controlled currency in the world.
We're coming for you, banks.
It's an exciting time to be involved in Bitcoin Cash at the moment.
During that whole war of Lightning versus big blocks, like, were we the bad guys? Were we the ones that weren't listening?
Fundamentally, we believe in markets, transparency, and tokenization.
Come on, you gotta come stronger than that, you know, like...
Hello, and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast, following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency. This is episode number 84, the SEC Crackdown and BlackRock ETF, featuring Chadwick Bailey of Cryptocurrency Theory. Today is Sunday, 18th of June, 2023. I'm your host, Jeremy. Jett is doing the producing, and our guest today is a Bitcoin Cash adopter. He runs a YouTube channel called Cryptocurrency Theory, where you can find out about a lot of coins, but definitely Bitcoin Cash. And I know for sure he has been in the community, onboarding people in his local area and stuff for a long time, spreading the good word of Satoshi. So welcome to the show, mate. Introduce yourself. How'd you get into Bitcoin?
Yeah. Hey, Jeremy. Welcome, guys. Thanks for having me, Jen. So, how did I get into crypto? It's so I think it was about July of 2017. I was living with a roommate, and long story short, he just introduced me to it. Coinbase, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Litecoin. That was it. I was hooked immediately. I remember sitting in his patio. We were talking about, he was talking he knew a little bit more about it. He'd been kind of following it, and basically was like, dude, you can send this stuff. This is not like, it took me a while to get over, like, is crypto a stock? It seems like when people are first introduced to crypto from a non-libertarian type dynamic introduction, they're kind of like, oh, well, it's a stock, or what is it? I mean, that's like a common misconception. People think it's like one and the same. And, I got over that pretty quickly. And once I started figuring out, you can send this stuff, you can send it to another wallet. It's this, I've always disliked the government. I think that's pretty obvious for my channel. I mean, I don't think I need to, I don't need to delve into all the reasons I dislike the government. We'll just leave that there. But once I found out that was kind of the root core about it, I started reading some of these, like, articles on what Bitcoin was, that kind of thing. I pretty much was instantly hooked. And I think that had I heard about it, that was the first time I heard about crypto. Had I heard about crypto in earlier years, I think I would have been just as hooked. But, there's people out there that are going to love crypto that don't even know what crypto, they don't even know what Bitcoin really is. They don't know what crypto really is. So once these same people figure out what it is, they're going to be just as hooked as I was. So got into it, did a little bit of trading. I think I lost like 4 or 5 Bitcoins on some exchanges just because some of my investments blew up. I made a bunch of money on these stupid ass coins like Litecoin, Verge, a whole bunch of these coins that, some of them are still around today. Some of them aren't, but I'm sure my money's kind of trailing around in the lost space of the internet, but somebody's keeping account of it. But I got into it pretty quick, Jeremy. I'll just be, I was pretty much instantly hooked. And, even though I lost all my cryptocurrencies based on my own, just not knowing what the fuck I was doing, I became more in love with cryptocurrency, where we're at now.
Yeah. And so how did you start your channel? What's the story there? And also you branded it at a certain point, right?
Yeah. So this is the second attempt at a crypto channel. I started one in like 2019, back around, it was a couple months before the Plus token scam. I think it was like August of 2019, I think. I started a channel. I was still kind of learning. It was a very non-goal oriented channel. I really didn't have a goal in it. I just wanted to just talk about crypto. I wanted to see who was out there that wanted to converse about it and share their thoughts about it. I wanted to learn more. And, I still feel like I only know the tip of the iceberg about crypto, but I'm constantly trying to just learn about crypto. I mean, in college, I was into like science and biology and chemistry and physics and all that stuff. Even though I wasn't particularly good at every single one of those subjects, I did take a conceptual interest in the fact that like I'm just not a know-it-all type. I can always learn more about cryptocurrency. There's something I always don't know, and there's always something that comes up that makes me change my original thought process on my approach to crypto. So I think what was the question? Sorry.
So yeah, so then you decided you started the channel, and that was so you did a first channel, but then you've moved on to a second channel.
Yeah. So I did a first channel, and it was very botched. So I just decided. I don't really remember the reason I stopped doing that channel. I think it was like I had this idea I was going to do a real estate channel because I was in the process of becoming in the real estate thing. And like, I didn't know you could have multiple channels. I really didn't even know how YouTube really worked. So I kind of think I just deleted that channel and was going to do this real estate channel. And then I figured out, I really didn't like talking about real estate. So, I just decided, and in fact, one of the reasons is I saw a lot of these YouTubers that I followed back in 2018, 2019, some of the new crypto influencers that are out there, BitBoy Crypto, Cryptos Are Us, Crypto, Wendy O, some of these mainstream ones. And I come from a background of working in the service industry. So I can smell bullshit a mile away, dude. Like I'm not always right on what I think, but a lot of times I am. And I knew those influencers immediately, back when they had less than 10,000 subscribers, were full of shit. So seeing those people 4 years from now being the main face of crypto, I almost took it as like a personal vendetta against them, not in a malicious way or like, I want their channel to do bad or anything. I just want to be out on the internet expressing what I know and love about crypto. That way, if I were somebody new to crypto, I would want to watch my channel. That was the second half of why I started the crypto channel back up. In respect to your question.
No, that's amazing because I'm kind of the same, right? Is when I started my channel, there was obviously a bunch of different things that had been sort of going on in my life, so I hadn't been as involved in crypto, and there was all the wars in BCH and stuff. I wasn't as interested in that. But then after the XCC fork, and I was watching it, and I was thinking like, where is all the content around this? Like, it seems like there's actually a lot of passionate people, really in detail history and all that. And I was just thinking, because in my mind it was obvious, like Bitcoin Cash would start getting traction and going somewhere, but it's like it's not happening. I thought, why is it not happening? Where all this stuff is obvious. Why is there nobody explaining all this? And then you kind of have that moment of realizing, like, wait, it's me. I need to get in there and do that. It sounds like similar to you. It's funny because you watch other people doing something, the whole time, and then at some point you just realize, like, the reason they're getting sort of clout or they're succeeding with their project is because they've been doing it for 4 years and I haven't been doing anything. So it really kicks you into gear in that way. So I'm really glad to hear that. And I think we're seeing more and more of that in the Bitcoin Cash community, right? We're seeing these channels like start to bubble up. Your one, my one, obviously BCH as well, who we've had on the show. Like Callisti was running the spaces for a while. There's a lot of that stuff kind of starting to crop up, I'd say.
Yeah, I think a lot of the same people that have become passionate over crypto in the second. I mean, I don't know how many bull runs there's been this consistent blow up, because you can go back and look at YouTubers that have been talking about Bitcoin all the way since back. Not just people like Roger Ver, not just people that are people that aren't really notorious in the space, but their front main video is talking about people like begging people to buy Bitcoin back in like 2013. And those same people are still making videos, yet they're not as known. And so you have crypto influencers that are passionate about crypto, and then you have essentially giant marketing campaigns like BitBoy Crypto, Cryptos Are Us, Crypto Windio, Altcoin Daily. All those people have just bought subscribers, they've bought views, and they've basically taken the easy route. And I believe that those same people are fizzling out because their channels aren't real. There's no telling to what depth their channel has actual people watching their show, because since I've started my crypto channel, I've had multiple people reach out from Lebanon, India, and I'm sure you've had the same thing. They guarantee you views, they guarantee you subscribers. If I wanted to have 10,000 or 100,000 subscribers, I could have that overnight. I know people that have no videos that have multiple subscribers because they've bought them. So there's people that are passionate about it, and then there's people that have rode this expansion of the digital economy, not specific to crypto, that now that the economy is shrinking, they're going to be fucked.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of, I mean, those kind of people that you're talking about. When I was getting back and starting my channel and stuff, I had no idea there was any of that. That was the funny thing about it. And what clued me into it was that I went to this meetup in the Hyde Park in London. I've talked about it before on the show, and I met, this was during the lockdowns and stuff. So it was only this rare window that you could actually go out and meet some people and find a face-to-face, get a bit of a temperature check on the ground, right? And there was like, whatever it was, 25 people there, something. And they were all, I was mind blown to find out that none of them really understood that crypto was about currency. Some of them had been listening to these types of shows. They'd all got in the last bull run. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them had got in the last bull run. And there was just so much confusion going on. And they had found those channels, like you said, because those had been the flashy ones that had been paying to promote themselves onto the trending feeds or whatever. And they got onto that. But what I sort of believe, and what I think you're saying as well too, is that over the next, maybe 3 to 5 years, those channels will kind of fade into the background a lot, because it's going to be hard for them to, even if they can attract some real viewers in between all the bots, it's hard to retain them because people look for higher quality information. And if it's just the same shilling of every different coins every week in this confused mass, and then after the coins crash, they just stop mentioning them, or, it's kind of like, when the coin's going good, they say, we told you, we told you, we told you. And then when the coin's going bad, they don't kind of cop to the mistake and say, oh, we got that one wrong, right? They just have already moved on to the next thing. And even if there is some market for that kind of low attention span, low information economy, it's not, going to win out in the long run, right?
Yeah, people will in the future become more interested about learning about crypto. So the same people that got fucked last bull run, Voyager, Celsius, all this stuff, FTX, Terra Luna, those same people, there is a percentage, and I have no idea what that is, of a retention rate. That retention rate will no longer subscribe. So to these people that you can watch them 5 minutes and know that what they're talking about is not only pointless, it doesn't have any effect on what crypto really is. So, and then you have people that are coming in that are new. Well, the people that are creating YouTube content, there's so many more people creating YouTube content. It's almost like back in the day, everybody was just watching YouTube. That's why you can see somebody that made a video of back 13 years ago, whenever YouTube started, of a dog taking a shit, and it's got like 10 billion views. And it's not because that video has any relevancy to anything going on. It's simply because it was created in phases of digital expansion. And that's not any kind of word that's just something I made up. But you know what I mean? There's these different expanding periods of digital revolutions per se. And that one on YouTube, unfortunately, it's basically over. I'm not saying that people aren't going to make money on YouTube. I'm just going to say that it's going to become very, very much more competitive. And that's why you've seen these YouTubers recently on all those channels I've mentioned do different little sponsorship programs, different letting people, Cryptos R Us is letting people come on their channel on Fridays to promote their shitcoin of the week, and basically has a disclaimer at the beginning that says, hey, I don't know about this. So basically pretend like you don't read this because I'm fucking you, but this is just for my own protection. So at the same time, these type people, there's no telling to what threshold that the subscribers are even real, right? So a lie's a lie, man. I say it on my channel all the time. If you're lying and you're lying to people, they're going to know you're lying. And they might not say you're lying, They might not go to the extent of I do and make all these little corny little videos about, whatever, but they know you're lying. I knew these people were lying back 5 fucking years ago. Sorry for cussing.
No, this is a free show. You're welcome to swear as much as
I just knew they were lying, man. And sure enough, here we are 5 years later, and I still know they're lying. So, like I said, I don't want it to be about like, I'm jealous because I didn't do it. No, it's simply the fact that if they are lying and people are watching their shit, I don't care if they're getting anybody viewing it. I'm going to call them out on it, because new people coming into crypto need to realize what cryptocurrency is and what it is not. And as the quicker they understand that, the quicker they're here to stay. So that's why on my channel all the time, all these little crappy ass ERC20 staking tokens that basically are just running in the background algorithmically on multiple exchanges with this, illusion that Ethereum didn't do in the beginning what crypto is not supposed to do by rolling back the fucking chain on the DAO hack. People are gonna find that shit out. And once they do, once people actually take genuine interest in ERC20 tokens and the garbage behind them, what they fundamentally are, that's when we see, a shift. So I tell people buy my cryptos, buy the ones that I say, just simply because I think the ERC20 thing is just, there are good ones, like I told you, I think I mentioned on my channel, Osmisigo, they're mint and tether on there. So there's different functions some of them do, but for the majority of them, they're just running in the background, waiting for nobody to buy it so they can spike and then, rug the next group of idiots who come in.
Yeah, it's funny that sort of retention group, you're exactly right. People, it's a bit counterintuitive, but a lot of people who are not in crypto think that crypto scams put people off crypto. And that's actually not true in the strangest way, is that the crypto scams put the people who aren't into crypto off crypto. But the people who get in and then get scammed, they realize on average, maybe some of them don't, but most of them realize this was my fault. I fucked up here. I was, playing with fire. I didn't understand what I was involved in. I got wrecked. Like, stupid me. They don't kind of blame, I'm the victim and blaming onto the exchanges or anything. They think I'm an idiot. And probably they might have seen some discussion from some more experienced people was explaining about not your keys, and that all kind of comes back into their head, and they think, yeah, wait, that's correct. And then they jump onto that, right? So do you think we are seeing that shift, but are you noticing it sort of around you in terms of the people that you interact? Because I've seen you talking a lot on your channel and stuff, same as me, like you're onboarding people in person, you're explaining to them, you're sending them a couple of dollars, all of that. Is that process getting easier for you?
No. Let me tell you why. There's two types of people in this world, I believe. There's people that move forward, that take accountability, and there are people that blame others, or in this case, crypto. So a lot of people that I talk to are the second part. They blame crypto for losing their money, and they blame the world for what they didn't do. Now, these same people fall into the category, like I said, they're blamers. They blame crypto. They don't blame themselves. So these same people will be back to crypto, and they'll repeat the same stupid behaviors time and time again as they repeat the same behaviors in their daily lives. So the people that are moving forward with crypto, and I mentioned this on my channel, are, buying crypto, supporting crypto, making genuine efforts and attempts to tell people what cryptocurrency is. And that's just the way it is. So I think people, there have been people, the younger generation, I'm almost 36. So I've taken a little bit more of I'm a little more apt to have longer conversations with the younger crowd around the 18, 19, under 25 range, because they're still open to learning about like what I have to say. But a lot of people I talk to, I go to the gym, and a lot of the conversations I have are in the sauna with other, people enjoying the sauna, talking. And a lot of people come in there and start talking about investments. And when I bring cryptocurrency up, a lot of these same people will act like they know everything about crypto, but within their first 2 or 3 sentences, what they say leads me to absolute confidence that they know nothing about cryptocurrency at all, but they are speaking as if they're experts. So really, I think the younger generation is, more open to understanding about what cryptocurrency is, and they're more likely to be the ones that use it as payments, tip their friends, buy concert tickets, crowdfund, that kind of thing, rather than the older group that's like, oh, well, I need to invest in the new Bitcoin spot ETF because Bitcoin's going to rise soon. It's like apples and oranges, man. They're both entry points to the money factor of coming into crypto, but they're two different. I mean, the younger generation isn't going to like that it's going to be $20 for a hamburger. The older generation will pay it if they have it, and they'll be sour about it. Oh, everything's so expensive. The mindset has to change about not only cryptocurrency, but investments, money, and all of it is changing. So I think the younger crowd is a little more open to it. To answer your question specifically, they're a little more open to the fact of not being so, living in the past type. So that's what I try to make sure I talk about on my channel. And that's how I live my life. I mean, I try to, I don't assume because of my experience, which is irrelevant to life, because experience is relative, right? Like, you talk to a 18-year-old millionaire who's a crypto millionaire that did all the right things, and you talk to some old fucking, wooden teeth old guy with, that's rich but did all the wrong things, right? So that's the spectrum gap. I think it'll all flow into crypto inevitably, just simply because that's probably one of the main things I talk about on my channel is it mineable? Can you use it for payments? Because that is the floodgates that we want. We don't want all this like speculation crap of like trying to like pin, social, economic things you're hearing about on the news into crypto. It's stupid. It's dumb. So I think peer-to-peer payments is the fundamental element of what layer 1 says on basically I think it's the 3rd or 4th page of the Bitcoin white paper on layer 1. We don't need all these hypotheticals of layer 2 on Ethereum to drop costs down. Layer 1, that's what it was. It's supposed to be a public ledger for infinity amount of time. You're not supposed to be this layer 2, like, oh, I have this great idea of a layer 2 that will settle layer 1 for you. No, there's mathematical codes in the white paper that, even though I don't specifically know how to interpret it, I know that those hashes are supposed to be moving forward with everybody knowing through the way the opcodes work, the way the fundamental infrastructure of Bitcoin in the background is supposed to be running. It is supposed to be on layer 1, and everybody is supposed to know about the transactions. There's not these like bust and booms of settling on layer 2 and then or settling on layer 2 and then we'll let everybody on layer 1 know. It gives everybody a disadvantage. It's supposed to be a transparent ledger on layer 1. There is no need for layer 2, and it doesn't take a computer scientist or a genius to figure out that they've done this on Ethereum and it's made Ethereum worse. Now, hell, Ethereum could fucking stake the entire Bitcoin network if it got to the magnitude of being able to, which is a scary thought, by the way.
Yeah, it is. I'm interested to hear that. Yeah,
it's two markets. It's two markets. Before back in 2017, there were only 2 markets: the Bitcoin market, and the Ethereum market. Sure, there was trading pairs on Litecoin. There was a little bit of stuff going on, but for the most part, there's 2 markets: Ethereum market, Bitcoin core market. That's changed a lot today, and it's got a lot more complicated, but
a lot more diverse. Yeah. So speaking of the markets, then this week we got to check in with the price. USD $107.76. BCH down a little bit. SEC have wrecked the entire market. We got down nearly. Did we even get under 100? I think we got 101.
Yeah, we went down to, I believe, I was watching cryptocurrencies as they crash, and I believe I saw Bitcoin Cash go down to 81 or 87 US dollars briefly, very quickly. Now it spiked back up to 90 something. And I actually made a short video of the volatility on, I don't know where Robin
BSV, right?
Well, on Bitcoin Cash on the short video, but all of them were, but Bitcoin Cash, I don't know where Robinhood pulls their I don't know where their feed comes from, the Bitfinex. I don't know where it's from, but the volatility on Bitcoin Cash was going between $93 and $97 in incremental, troughs, right? Like, so the whole spread of the volatility occurring on that particular exchange. And Bitcoin SV, I know we're talking about Bitcoin Cash, but Bitcoin SV went all the way down to $17, which was a 39 or 49% decrease before recovering back up to over $23. So, that, and Dash collapsed too. I mean, Dash went down under, I think I saw Dash at like $21. It's about 30, I think now, but a lot of the cryptos, especially the privacy coins on that Binance thing, they
are a bit wrecked. One BTC is 247.8 BCH, which is down a bit on the ratio. One ETH is 16.3 BCH. So we're still flat against them. So speaking of the markets, what sort of position, this is a chance to comment and, not financial advice, but in your view, are we just going to roll our way through to another bull market next year? Is it kind of going to take longer than that for things to build up? Is everybody kind of a bit over the whole crypto thing and it's going to take longer than we expect? What do you make of the future?
As far as the future of crypto, it's going to be bigger, better than ever. And that's simply because people like me, you, Jett, and everybody else in the community are more passionate despite the price loss or price drop, whatever. So does cryptocurrency have to follow this pattern nature? No, I don't think so. And I think that a lot of the reasons it doesn't is simply because just because something, when we look at a graph of crypto, we're looking back in the past. That doesn't dictate on how many derivatives are built on top, suppressing the price of Bitcoin Cash, or how many delistings on BSV are occurring, or how many dumps are happening on Zcash based on the way the mining works, or how much Dash actually could play into an overall crypto pump, especially on the altcoin trading pairs like Bitcoin Cash and a lot of the other cryptos, and the whole Ethereum move to proof of stake thing, which, I think that's the worst thing for crypto, but that's just me. I don't think that, I don't think the market sees it that way. I think they're all for Ethereum. And if you ask most of the people that own Ethereum, they don't even know what they own, and they don't even, and a lot of times the people say, oh, well, Ethereum has the most developers. So what does that mean? What does that mean? It's just easier for them to build on Ethereum at the current moment. You could go build on Ethereum back in 2017. I could have built a token on Ethereum in 2018 when they had the MIS platform, which was basic. And dude, I ran this from an old ass Mac. I mean, like the Mac I ran it on was like a 2015, 2016, like a whatever processor they use, like a G4 or the old ones, right? And you could download the entire Ethereum blockchain on MIS, which was their, I don't know if it was their OS or their what you see when you're building the token. It was like the interface that you see. It's called MIS. They don't have it anymore, but you could basically create a token. And I've created tokens before on like Waves platform and other platforms. And surprisingly, interesting story, when I created my token on Waves, I actually got to a point where somebody was buying my token that was making it unaffordable for me to just play around with it and make the graph go up. So somebody, whether that was a real entity or a programmed way of tracking the fact of knowing what I was doing, they were able to outmatch my price, where it's like, dude, I'm not paying fucking 30 cents to watch this graph go up. So even though I had limit orders set, there was no way for me to like play around with it. And eventually I just abandoned my own project. And it was just a project that I had like $2 in. It wasn't like, or maybe $8 or whatever Waves was at the time. It wasn't like a project that I was like trying to like, get people to buy. It was just me. But something in the background was, taking that position out for me. So the same thing could be happening with Ethereum, and the whole thing could be rigged.
Okay, yeah, love that.
Speculative, but
No. That's super cool that you were making your own tokens and stuff. Well, that's a crazy little story. You didn't even promote it to anyone, and yet suddenly the bots were in there trading away. That gives you some
they were trading
indication of how
stopping me from trading it. So not letting me trade it, where I just basically had to abandon what I had left in it, which is probably like, I don't know, $10 or more, but still.
That's classic. All right, I got to give an update on Selene as well. Obviously, our flip starter got funded. So huge shout out to, we had 32 contributors. So thank you very much to Majamalu, Turik, Satoshi Nakamoto, Erdogan Talk, Mike Komaransky, Anonymous, Philip J. Fry, Random Peasant 6, Cheap Lightning, Jett, you're in there too. Thanks for contributing. Imaginary username, F Shine Top, Emergent Reasons, 2QX, Bernan Castle, Mainnet Pat, Yasin, Chat GPT, Bitcoin Out Loud, ZMac1N3, Omar for Freedom, Max Hastings, Sandakas Man, Sidwell, Steve 2048, Gustavo Coins for Clothes, KDM 2718, Pantera BCH, and 5 more anonymous. Thank you very much for contributing. It's been amazing. Obviously, the project now has a bit of resources to play with. We've released v1.0.8, which fixed the change outputs and made the toast notifications a little slicker. Callisti was saying, I think, that we've now got 95 downloads on the Google Play Store, so we're already close to 100. And the next release is planning to have the iOS rollout in it, as well as the updated UI for sending and receiving, so it's much slicker, and possibly also translations in up to 22 languages. So plenty more in the pipeline there. And yeah, huge shout out, thanks to everybody who has funded that. All right, cool. Had to give the update there. So first topic of the day, SEC is suing Binance and Coinbase. So this week, or I guess maybe last week, the SEC decided that Binance had 10 tokens it deems to be unregistered crypto asset securities. So Solana, Sol, ADA, Matic, Filecoin, Atom, what's this one? Sand, Mana, Algorand, AXS, and Cotti. I don't know that one.
I believe Dash was on there too, but I mean, I heard that from Free Talk Live. I'm not sure if it was. Did you see Dash on there?
Well, because the problem is that they sued Binance for some and they sued Coinbase for some other ones. And then they've previously also done, so the Dash might have been on the Coinbase,
I think it was Coinbase,
lawsuit.
Yeah.
So it's clearly obviously a mess as per usual, where they're just firing off kind of semi-randomly onto different coins. There's not a consistent approach, as we've discussed on this show before. Part of the game of the regulators is to keep it vague and confused in order to be able to arbitrarily target whoever they want, right? If they give it a consistent strategy, then people will obviously just follow those rules, and then that would be the end of the problem. But they kind of like having that same problem, right? So Bitcoin Cash was not on the targeted list, except that the price kind of crashed a bit. So on one hand, that's kind of good for us because the competitors are getting a bit wrecked. But people who were celebrating this, I found a bit naive, because really it's just a case of, if the meddling is going to go on, well, they're clearly going to come for us in the end too. It's just a divide and conquer strategy. But a lot of BTC people were actually over the moon that all these regulations and suing was going of their competitor, kind of like, oh, they deserve to be culled out as these shit coins. But I think they're just completely naive as to how the capture is going to start there and then spread around onto other coins. What do you think?
I think that basically, for one, the fact that they put Dash into this is just the stupidest thing ever. Dash is not only obviously mineable, it's probably one of the more closely related coins to Bitcoin Cash, even though the mining and the way the masternodes run is different. But to say Dash is a security, whether I believe you're right, I believe it was Coinbase, is so far from, and I personally think that they're trying to attack Dash because Free Talk Live promotes it on their 200 plus radio stations around the world, which is the largest libertarian radio station in the world. And they promote it. They're paid to promote it, but they promote it all the time. And, with the Crypto 6 coming up, Ian is going to be sentenced pretty soon here. I believe it's coming up. And then Aria, has to do 18 months. And that's coming up in the next week because they were selling basically on local Bitcoins to people that they, without a money transfer. There's a whole bunch of list of stuff. But I think that's the reason the SEC is coming after, or the SEC and regulators are coming after Dash specifically. And they're saying, oh, well, back, they switched to where the master nodes had more voting. And that's a whole bunch of bullshit, because the way that the mining works, it doesn't make any sense. And as far as Filecoin, I think they're taking an aim at that just simply because China is one of the largest miners of Filecoin, even though it's a Silicon, or I think it's up in San Francisco or whatnot, the devs, and the people that founded it. But at the same time, China has increasingly started mining Filecoin. So I think that's specifically why they're attacking those two. As far as the other ones, I think Algorand has some type of predictions market, but I might be confusing that with Augur. So, some of these ones that are, proof of stake, are they securities? Well, they're not coming after Ethereum, which seems like would be the main one they would, because, that would make the whole thing unravel quicker if they wanted to take but they can't, right? They can't. It's like XRP. I might not be able to buy it here in the United States from exchanges, but I can trade it and swap it on the Exodus wallet, no problem. I can still do all those things. So I think they're going to have to the US is going to have to bend over and take it at some point, because they have no choice. They're going to lose either way, because they're going to give up the power. They're going to give up a world power to someone else if they don't bend over and take it. So they're going to have to bend over and take it.
That certainly seems to be the way, right? A lot of people are saying, there's been this back and forth, has been a bit sort of on the edge as to various countries. Are they pro or anti-crypto, all that kind of thing. It's sort of slowly shaking its way out. But the US would be obviously a key player because they can set the tone globally. But if they are against crypto, and certainly with this fresh round of sort of attacks, it seems to have come out quite anti-crypto, at least in the current way the wind is blowing. And a lot of people have been saying, look, crypto is not going to stop for us. If we are kicking it out, all the innovation is going elsewhere. And we're just going to be behind the 8 ball, in 5 years or in 10 years, where this kind of attacks or uncertainty, the companies just flow around it. They move their headquarters to somewhere else, or somebody's starting a new project. They don't do it inside the US. They do it with their mate in a different country or whatever to kind of get around that. And so I think that's something, you're in America, right? So do you have any sense of the on the ground reality of that? Are people concerned about that in the American public, you think?
No, they're not. They're not concerned about it in large masses. And what I mean by that is the normal civilian here is only concerned about, non-stuff crypto related. As long as they have money to survive, they don't care. They don't give a shit about the Ukraine. They might post about it on Facebook or put a little heart, but they don't actually really, as long as it doesn't interrupt their lives, they don't give a fuck what kind of currency they're using. They don't care if it's crypto. They don't care about stocks. They don't care about cryptocurrencies. They don't care about any of that shit. What they care about is satisfying their most immediate needs. And that applies to the entire world, not just here in the United States. Now, I think to address your question specifically, that this has already been proven among cryptocurrency on a wider, broader global scale, in the form of neo crypto. And again, I know I'm talking about a variety of cryptos. Obviously, Bitcoin Cash.
That's fine.
Largest holding. But so Neo has already proven this. Neo was I believe was the first ICO ever raised. I don't know if it was bigger than Tezos. The prices of stuff changes, but it was the first in the form of Ant shares, and it is alive and well in China and everywhere around the world, in the form of Neo now. And basically, if you apply just that simple notion to the fact that most of the hash power in crypto, because right now it's on BT Core, unfortunately, is out of the US, number one, secondly, China, and then China's neighbor, which is like Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan or whatever that country is that borders China, which is basically China just exploiting their cheap electricity, because we know that Uzbekistan is not a global world power, nor do we, care that they're in between Russia and China, but they are China, right? So really it's China and the US. And isn't it a little ironic that the local Chinese, mainland China, not Hong Kong, Hongkongese can't buy crypto, yet China government has basically controlled the world hash power over there, more than the US if you add Uzbekistan or Kazakhstan or whatever the bordering country is. They have more hash power than the United States. So, we've seen coins like Neo, we've seen coins like Quantum, we've seen mineable cryptocurrencies that have came out of Asia. And yeah, some of them might be not China, they might be Singaporean or whatever, but the founders are all Chinese, and they've been some of the best performing and most volatile coins pretty much this year, and have been the best performers of the last, 10 years on some of them. 10s and 20s, 50,000% up if you go back and you look at them from when they first actually raised the ICO. And, I think the debate on whether or not the US is going to keep fucking around is basically irrelevant to what crypto will do moving forward. It's not going to stop crypto. I can send somebody Bitcoin Cash in China, in mainland China. There's nothing stopping that, other than the government saying you can't do it. But we all know that the hash power is coming out of there. So, somebody give me some kind of reasoning for that, right? Why would China, if China really didn't like crypto, you can't even run a red light in China without getting a ticket in the mail. And sure, a lot of it might be, happening out in the rural areas. But if China really wanted to shut down crypto, they'd shut down the hash power. But they haven't done that. They've actually done the exact opposite. And look at Jihan Wu. I don't know if he's still the CEO of Bitmain, but all the equipment was coming out of there. So my point is if regulatory, the Gestapo of China wanted to basically shut down crypto, they could, just because of the way that their social economics is set up. They could, honestly, if they wanted to shut it down in their country, sure, they might not be able to shut it, the trading down or sending it, but they could literally shut it down from the core of the hash power, and they just haven't done that. So I don't think, I think between that, Neo, and those two things, I think that it's pretty clear that crypto's already won that type of battle in the worst of places.
Yeah, true. And so we've got the kind of comedy central of the regulators here. So there's this week the US SEC tweeted out, today we charge Coinbase with operating its crypto asset trading platform as an unregistered national securities exchange, broker and clearing agency, and for failing to register the offer and sale of its crypto asset staking as a service program. And then a whole thing here about you simply can't ignore the rules because you don't like them or because you'd prefer different ones. And then you have Gary Gensler himself quote tweeting that, saying Coinbase's alleged failures deprive investors of critical protections, including rule books that prevent fraud and manipulation, blah, 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 a bit more stuff. But then he got community noted by the reader base of Twitter, who said, Coinbase has repeatedly attempted to get guidance and include the SEC. Recently, Coinbase has had to sue the SEC to attempt to get simple clarity over the issues that this tweet alleges Coinbase is guilty of. So it's just this complete sham where the crypto industry is trying to cooperate and has been for quite a long time. But day by day, time marches forward. If the government's not giving regulation or they're just acting in this weird, erratic fashion, which is kind of by design, but as long as they're doing that, then the rest of the world is not, like you said, the investors in China or in other places in Europe, in Asia, in South America, in Africa, wherever, are just cracking on with it. So if America turns into a bit of a disaster, it really seems mostly just a problem for them individually, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember too, as a reminder for whoever is watching Jeremy's live stream right now, crypto is a world market. Okay, so Africa, we've been going over there for thousands of years, exploring their resources. Who has all their infrastructure for communications in Africa? China. They've been building it out there for 30 years. The US is already, we saw Yellen run over to Africa to try to do this weird, weird thing that we're here to help now, we're ready to come here now. But China's been there for the last 30 years. And to be frank, Africa is one of the most developing continents in the world, with a variety of countries that are already developed, like South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria. Yeah, they might not be the best places to live now, but just shows you the amount of growth. Everybody in African countries, they pay like Chinese do on QR codes. They don't pay with these debit cards. China skipped that whole thing. They didn't have credit cards and debit cards. Yeah, they're over there, but I'm saying on a mass scale, people don't use them. They use QR codes, they use tap to pay, that kind of thing. So that fundamentally is how crypto is used already. So if they want to, which they don't have the knowledge of it yet, they could switch over to using crypto almost immediately, because the payment tools are already there through coins like Bitcoin Cash, that kind of thing. And we just see this thing with Lightning Network where they're trying to like rush to give them something to use, but in reality, it's an ongoing race that I think that Bitcoin Cash essentially can win, or at least be a in line with, or right there, right? Or like right there at that moment, that key moment, right?
That's an excellent point, actually, that I hadn't really ever thought about. I'm familiar that in China, what's it called? WeChat Pay, Weixin, like they're using the scan to pay, and that's already sort of embedded in the cultural consciousness. But I've never been to Africa, so I don't know. But it's fascinating if they actually already have those same flows built into their consumer habits. Then
I've researched it. Yeah, I've researched it. It is the exact, their whole telecommunications, communications, all their infrastructure is Chinese. It's basically China, how the Western society tried to dominate the Asia, the Pacific Rim countries. It's that same dynamic, but here we're just in the present, there we're in the past. So the way that Africa could play into this is probably one of the largest, because remember, I don't know on a grand scheme of things where Africa falls as a continent, but I know they are absolutely loaded with all sorts of rare minerals, things to build out batteries, all that stuff. They're not the only place, but they're a large place. So if corporations, which again goes back to or non-government entities per se, non-government entities, which goes back to the original Bitcoin libertarian thesis white paper. If those entities come into place, then they will, it will be a precursor for potentially the biggest inflow into crypto, because it will be a variety of different ways will funnel into the payment system type usage for crypto. So a lot of people always forget about Africa, but they are one of the fastest developing countries in the world. So China doesn't even have to allow crypto. They can let Africa be Africa, and they have hash power. The whole thing kind of works into the way that the world superpowers are kind of in place already. But I think that Africa is probably one of the sleeping giants for crypto, and we just don't know it yet.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Very, very strong points. And I've mentioned on the show several times before about Nigeria, I think is one to watch. We definitely have a strong BCH community in their sixth largest country in the world by demographics, huge tech hub, huge Google search interest in Bitcoin. I think there's clearly, there's all the ingredients there for something to just kick off at it or go viral at a certain. We haven't seen it yet, but I want to reiterate that prediction, because I think we'll see it in the next few years. So speaking of the superpowers, then we also have this case of BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager with $8.59 trillion in wealth under management, have now filed to run a Bitcoin ETF, which has been this bugbear of the industry for quite a long time, probably nearly a decade now, with Barry Silbert and the Winklevoss twins and different people have been trying to file to get these ETFs approved so that they can have Bitcoin held in these various financial products that are available to people in their retirement accounts and their stockbrokers and all that kind of stuff, like a huge pool of sort of users that is not necessarily even going to be exposed to Coinbase or Robinhood or anything like that, much less holding their own keys. So there's the classic case where in 2017, there's a headline here, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink calls Bitcoin an index of money laundering. And then, of course, here you are in 2023, 6 years later, BlackRock files for spot Bitcoin ETF with Coinbase as a crypto custodian. So the difference here might be that these guys are now so big, we're talking about the biggest pools of money in the world, that they might have enough sort of political connections and stuff to get this kind of thing approved. So thing over the line as the legacy financial system truly entrenches into crypto, especially obviously Bitcoin BTC, which is so little sort of traded among the population peer to peer anymore. What do you make of this?
Well, I mean, this is kind of the same thing with Jamie Dimon, right? From Chase, of Bitcoin's going to go to zero. I think it's in your introduction video. It's simply say one thing, do another. So don't look at what these people say, look at what they do. Look at what politicians do, look at what these corporate hierarchy of entities do. Don't focus on what they're saying, because they're basically just lying sacks of scum. So basically moving forward, I think the interesting thing to note in particular about the Bitcoin ETF is I think what they're looking for is a Bitcoin spot ETF, which is different from the varieties, I believe. And don't quote me on this, I haven't researched it in depth just simply because I don't care. I think personally that ETFs will be a precursor to increased volatility among the real crypto prices in the settling layer, aka layer one. But I do believe that the current ETFs, and again, I'm not 100% sure, I believe the current ETFs are based on different things. Like I know for one, the futures price on Bitcoin, BTC Core, as well as there is Bitcoin Pro shares, which is like a minimum that they hold in treasuries, which is very strange to think that like they're holding treasuries on the behalf of a BTC paired fractional whatever. The way that stocks work in general, ETFs are already very, very not confusing, but they're very built on one atop of each other. There's different derivatives and functions that essentially cancel out certain values, but create new values too that don't really exist. That's why a lot of these ETFs are, I was thinking a couple of years ago that ETFs could be the whole reason the stock market crashes, but we haven't seen that yet. But that's because they keep building these new ETFs that are like built on top of each other, creating new possible functions, but the functions keep creating for the whole thing to work. Like once there's a stopping point, all these functions basically stop canceling each other, and then the function falls back on the original value, which I think is the reason that these ETFs are great for crypto. Like bring them on, because on a fundamental level, if we have people coming in already that are unattached to these ETF, even a spot price, doesn't really matter. I don't think BlackRock has, even being the world assets under management, I don't personally believe I don't know what their AUM total is. That might be more than $1 trillion. It probably is. It's probably several trillion, where they think they can just come in here, put an ETF on a spot price of Bitcoin and start basically using their liquidity to crush Bitcoin. And that ain't gonna fucking happen, because you don't think Satoshi realized that? Sure, there might be the exchange rate for crypto, but the actual fundamental computer software in the background running might not be possible to control Bitcoin. It might start acting in ways we've never seen if they try to introduce, like, I don't know what the crypto market cap is, somewhere like $1.5 trillion, whatever it is. They introduced BlackRock tries to come in here and try to create an ETF of a market cap of 10 trillion. I'm just giving you an example. It wouldn't be that much, and then they try to run BTC. Well, Bitcoin, think of all the trading pairs it has to it. Where does the inflows of money go just because they're trying to pin it to a derivative? It's not going to work. So this whole thing of like BlackRock creating an ETF, sure, that might create people coming in to trade the ETF because there's a spot price on it. But Ethereum's proof of stake now. Like, what is really going on here? People have to think of like what is really going on here in terms of the timing of this. We've been trying to get a ETF for a while. We have ETFs for crypto. They're just not spot price ETFs. I don't think there might even be one. Technically, I don't know what the Grayscale Bitcoin holding trust is, but it's based on a fractional share price per increment on Bitcoin. So like, I don't really know enough about it to give you a clear-cut answer. I just don't think it really matters for cryptocurrency, because that money is going to flow. Crypto is designed at its root core to let all the money come in, regardless of the price being down or up, or the market cap, or the trading pairs, or these pirate exchanges that we've seen like hit BTC. None of that really matters, because the money is still going to get sucked in. Crypto is like a black hole, and nothing escapes it. So as much as, and I think that's personally one of the reasons Bitcoin Cash price is down so much, as well as Dash, Bitcoin SB, and a whole bunch of other cryptos, is simply because the exchanges are trying to suppress these prices. But at the root core, that will reverse, and it's like a black hole, and it's just going to be like, all these prices, all these ERC20 tokens that are garbage, most of the mineable cryptocurrencies, I believe, are going to balloon to be the difference in all this stuff that they're trying to make work and what really works in crypto. The difference will be the increase against Bitcoin Core, like we saw in Dash in the spring, summer of 2017 or 16. We're going to see that balloon effect again. It's going to happen. It's going to happen because they keep trying to, put all these forks in the road, but the road is just the road, and nothing will stop the road. It's not like they can do this kind of shit in the stock markets. They can do this type shit with ETF and index funds on major market cap stocks like Tesla and stuff. They can kind of pin it, but they're not going to be able to do it with crypto, simply because the people that work at the exchanges are the same people that build out all this stuff for the NYSE and NASDAQ and all that. So they ain't going to let it happen. They're going to make sure that crypto is guarded. So a lot of people say bad things about exchanges, but it's essentially exchanges are safeguarding crypto in a sense, in a broad sense. They're not, I'm not telling people, hey, like, go leave your money on exchanges, but they are guarding it. If we look at specifically this Binance US, like only Binance US people are going to be able to like move assets for Binance US. Like, what the fuck is that? You're going to be able to move their funds to another wallet, and then you're going to centralize those wallets based on Binance US. So they're basically stealing Binance US funds, basically, because recently what's occurred is they were trying to freeze assets. Well, the judge signed off, I believe it was yesterday, they signed off that Binance US employees are able to basically move the funds to new wallet addresses. So, centralization. They're basically, trying to control Binance US, and they'll probably, I bet we'll look at this a year from now or whatever, or however long it takes in the snail judicial system here, that there's probably going to be like this, like, centralized entity of coins that I think the US is just basically trying to steal, because this doesn't affect Binance. CZ said it. I mean, I'm not on Twitter, but I read, from the post, like, Binance is fine. Binance US is like a small pimple on it's very small. Like, it's not, back before Binance US is when, if the US really wanted to come after Binance, when we saw tokens like Storm and all these like tokens hitting the Binance platform and mooning immediately, that would have been when they could have made a move. Now, they wouldn't have won because the Binance would have just left. But Binance US is not Binance. So they're going to quickly find out that Binance doesn't, we'll find out how much Binance really has in the crypto game. But at the same time, I don't think it's going to be a lot, personally. From the records they said, I don't think Binance US really, Binance US could shut down tomorrow, and I don't think it would affect the liquidity of what's really happening on Binance, the actual worldwide exchange.
Yeah, there's been this kind of angle that you're going on there, that these BlackRock investments and so on is sort of like it's an attack, that they're trying to find a way in with these huge sums of money to try and put the genie back in the bottle. People have been theorizing a lot around that. There's been a lot of discussion about that in terms of obviously how it plays into it with Binance. And then also one of the things that came up in this filing was that they had some language in their filing about, if there is another Bitcoin chain split, if there is another like BTC BCH divergence, that they would get to decide themselves which one they felt was sort of the real Bitcoin, quote unquote, and then they weren't really going to honor anyone's deposit.
They're trying to play. They're trying to play. Yeah, they're trying to play node mining gods, and you can't play God like that in crypto. The way this stuff is set up, it eliminates that factor. So like you just said, they're trying to control their version of Bitcoin. Why? Because they want to onboard everybody to a layer 2. That way they really control Bitcoin. That is what layer 2 is. It is a settlement layer. Think of Lightning, and I know you know what it is, but for anybody watching it, think of it as I'm going to use the word masternode, not in the sense of Dash. I'm going to use the word masternode as this giant fucking liquidity pool that is happening off chain that they will let layer 1 know how it settles, right? Bitcoin Cash, all the forks of Bitcoin, even Bitcoin Gold, they solved this when crypto always sees the problems like years before. So they already split the chains. And now, do you think it matters for a miner in China which one they're going to mine if the price of one goes up? Because they can literally switch with like a switch. Joshua Hensley on my channel was talking about this. They can go Bitcoin Gold, they can go Bitcoin SV, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Gold. And now there's a chase to like find the real Bitcoin, right? Because the true Bitcoin holders, I believe, not that I hold as many Bitcoin cores, but it's only because I'm late to the game. If I was seeing myself in the past, if we were sitting here having a conversation on video chat before Zoom 10 years ago, I probably would be saying the same thing. I would probably be saying like, we're seeing this coming. We're seeing the mempool fill up. We're seeing this slowdown of like people actually using it. We're seeing all these dumbass people come in here that don't know what the fuck they're even buying. We've seen Coinbase around for 5 years, yet now everybody's talking about it. So they see all these things coming and it's like, they're ready for it before it happens. So let's split the chains. If I was a real Bitcoin guy, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have any need to sell my Bitcoin. Sure, I might be averaging down, and that might be what the exchanges are doing. They're preparing for Bitcoin Cash and some of these forks. And if you look at Bitcoin Gold, the way it trades is very interesting on a side note. And I recommend if anybody's watching this, look at the way Bitcoin Gold trades on a spot price. It's almost like it's capturing every single lost trade that's happening in the background. So that might be why we see this like downward slump, right, on Bitcoin Cash from like the BTC core price, right? Is we're seeing this downward just trend. But that you got to remember, the exchanges hold so much of this stuff. They could be like slowly not dumping, but actually slowly buying Bitcoin Cash at a profitable, because there's profits running in the back to mine it. I think it's like, I don't remember what it was, like 69 cents profitability on Bitcoin Cash for whatever the number is or something. So this can all quickly reverse, and they can just make up all that money in fiat dollars like immediately, right? Because the mining, they're a lot of these people that operate exchanges, they have mining, they have different businesses within crypto. It's not just they have the exchange. Sure, Binance might just have the exchange, but they might have miners. They might have tons of minings. They might be friends with Jihan Wu. I mean, this community is very tight knit the farther you go back. And the farther you go back, the smaller it becomes. We've seen that from the wallet distribution on BTC Core and Bitcoin Cash. Seen that on the wallet distribution. The farther you go back, the smaller the community is. So, they're all working together to keep crypto safe, irrelevant from the price. Like Bitcoin Cash, just because it's been going down for 5 years against Bitcoin Core, that is not necessarily a bad thing. It's also one of the only coins that's been trending down against Bitcoin Core, very similar to Dash, very similar to Zcash and other mineable cryptos, not like these weird spikes with the ERC20 tokens, which, like, by the way, can out of nowhere almost just spike like 700-800%. And that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So it's a different dynamic once you start applying the idea of a mineable crypto, exchanges, mining, tokenomics, the way everything works. I think it's a great way to secure. I think that the chain split was great, even for BTC Core almost, because it almost secures it without securing it. Like if the price of Bitcoin goes to $1 and Bitcoin Cash goes right up to 20,000 or whatever the price is of Core right now, those same people holding it really don't care. They don't care, right? So it's almost like, well, yeah, Bitcoin Cash can go down for a while until we decide that Bitcoin's very far from what it should be. and then it switches. We'll see how loyal those BTC people really are when that happens. And I bet you they're not going to be as loyal as everybody thinks. So the exchanges will go where the loyalty is, because CZ sold his house in Shanghai to buy Bitcoin and lost it all. Jihan Wu, they've all lost money in crypto. So they've experienced that, and they're not going to they're going to follow where the loyalty is in the community. They're not going to really follow some, number, because the number they can control already. They know where the numbers are, right? They know where they literally know where the numbers are, because they're creating it on the exchange, So I think Binance showed how much their control is with how Binance Coin performed against BTC Core. And I don't own any Binance Coin, by the
way. Well, they're starting to struggle. So this is something I've got a slide here. Are we hitting the tipping point? Once you factor in all these things, right? You've got the BlackRock stuff, you've got the big moves around Binance, you've got the SEC kind of getting involved. Like, crypto is now being played like in the big leagues, exactly as you're describing. So we have the Fed now, CBDC system is starting to roll out supposedly from next month. So it's really was playing for high stakes here in the global economy when it comes to crypto. I tend to take that as quite positive for crypto, because the way that it works, it's decentralized, right? But the crypto community coordinates itself indirectly via the blockchain, right? Like the economics and the blockchain flows just sort of direct everybody. Whereas if different people are all trying to get in there and attack crypto in different ways, they're going to kind of stumble over each other, right? It's much harder for attacking crypto to be a coordinated assault that makes sense. Instead, like they're going to be getting in each other's way, versus the community defending it, is already coordinated. That's what the blockchain does. It syncs everyone up onto the same standard. So what do you make of this?
Yeah. So you said something like a defense, right? So crypto also has a offensive approach, right? They are able to maneuver this stuff before it happens. Like we've seen this, countless times, but when crypto basically, we see these downturns, from a communication point to the general public and to the exchange, we see, crypto prices are down, but we also see other values that are non-related to actual price, right? We see loyalty among community of how many people are dumping coins because the liquidity and volumes are so slow. I think there was only, I think last I checked, there was only like 440 something transactions on the mempool for Bitcoin Cash, right? Like waiting in line, right? So it's like, from a general not so qualified mathematician standpoint, you can kind of sit here and say, oh, okay, well, you have this community that is not selling a lot, right? Because they know the transactions, they can see them. When you broadcast a network transaction, the whole network sees it, right? So my point is there, and let me just wrap this part up, because I feel like I'm drifting here. But basically, during these periods of downtime in price, also allows people that are super hardcore into crypto, whether it's exchanges or hardcore people that run a node that can that are hardcore into looking at some of the analytical data. They're able to see values that are non-related to the current trading spot price. They're able to see where certain values line up with where crypto could be in the next point in time. So it's not all about like, oh, well, Bitcoin price cash is down. Like, okay, duh, we all know that. Like, but what does that say? What are people able to look like? Are we able to take an analytical value past just the number of the trading price? Like, what is going on here? There's this coin that's going down, yet they're upgrading the network. It's not like we're this fucking coin, like, that's just like going into oblivion on some kind of robotic Twitter. Like, and that's just one thing. That's just one thing. I don't believe personally that Bitcoin Cash is the first coin to like be looked at and analyzed from this type of perspective. I think before 2000, before the split, I think Dash was one of these coins that they did this. I think Neo played into this. I think Litecoin played into this, and I still think they're just as important today in this value system of where, like, what are we tracking here? Because obviously the price is one thing, but we know crypto is a lot more than that, right? So I think Binance does have a lot of play into this. I think that's the reason we've seen Binance balloon against Bitcoin core price. It's been one of the best performing coins. And it's because CZ is trying to say, hey, motherfuckers, I know what is going on here, and I'm going to balloon my bag to show you what's going on because I know. So you guys try to fuck with me. I got all this extra liquidity on Binance Coin now, and I'm going to show you how much power I got because look at where my coin's at comparatively to Bitcoin core. Look how much of the spread is from $8 US to I think it was like $240. So don't fuck with me now. And when he said that, that's when we've seen these world powers, try to intervene. So that's just my own speculative thing. It might be bullshit, but maybe it's not.
Do you have, so I have a Grafana dashboard of a bunch of different Bitcoin Cash stats. And if you're interested, I can send you a link to the public version of that so you can follow some of those stats as well. So I have things like price, block size, miner reward overall, how much fees, excluding the Coinbase reward per block, unconfirmed transactions, all that kind of stuff. In the past 6 hours, the highest amount of unconfirmed transactions was about 1,700. But also because of the emergent coding guys down in Australia, we've had, over the past week, quite a few blocks that have been like 8 megabytes.
Interesting. I only saw the blocks were under 1 megabyte, but again, that might be from where the data is being pulled. I looked at could have been wrong, right?
Yeah. So
I would bit info charts is a lot of where I go to get my charts, but again, that might be inaccurate.
So
it was only briefly. It was only like for a couple blocks at a time.
Like a spike, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So that let me just say let me add to what Jett just said. So when we see these interesting spikes, right? We saw this with the overnight repo market back, I think, back in, I don't know, before COVID. We see these random spikes, right? Those are indicative of something weird going on, right? I mean, it's not a normal thing just to see that spike, right? I don't know what the data point was suggesting. Jett, what was it? You said it was the 8 megabyte block size basically just increased out of nowhere, right?
So it's not completely out of nowhere. For the past couple of weeks, they've been doing, I don't know the full scope of their project exactly, but they've been doing quite a few tests where they'll send out tens of thousands of transactions at a time. And from what I understand, those are supposed to represent agents getting paid for contributing small pieces of code to an overall project. So, I mean, it'll be more interesting, I think, of course, when it's out of testing and whatnot. But yeah, so I think over the past 2 weeks, there have been probably like 4 or 5 nights where I've seen the block size go to 6 megabytes, 8 megabytes. And so, the talk about block size has actually come up again. And some people are like, are they spamming the mempool and all that? I think it'll push for, more, I mean, I'm hoping, definitely reaching a little bit here, but I'm hoping we go towards a like dynamic adjustable block size. But yeah, it's not like normal everyday user kind of behavior, but it's not completely random. We know where it's coming from and why they're doing it.
What do you think about an adaptable block size as well, too? That's something we discussed on the last episode. There's been more chatter about that in the community. Are you in favor of that?
Yeah, I am a favor of that. And let me tell you why. And I think I addressed this before we started the podcast or live stream. So RBTC, I think it was general protocols. Like I was telling you, I read something on there. I think it was recent. A lot of times when I reach RBTC, I've been fishing for something that might have been on there for quite some time, but I've reached it just now. But I believe it was recent. They were talking about basically like pulling the block size down in periods where we don't need to have, 32 megabytes because there's no reason for it, that kind of thing. And this is just my speculative, thing here. But in that whole thing, and I don't know if it's possible, I don't know how to build this stuff out, but it seems like that there should be a way to throttle the block, if that's a proper word, throttle the block size down in periods of slow adopting or whatever, however you want to call it, whatever, slow periods, downturns. and then maybe a way to algorithmically speed up the process, the transactions that are happening, so it's more profitable for miners that are mining this. I don't know if there's a way to do it, but it seems like that would be a way to increase the price kind of artificially. But we all know, when we see these big price jumps is when, I bought Bitcoin Cash at 122 last month, just simply because the price went up to 122. I wanted to buy it, right? So it's just like mindset.
The FOMO.
Yeah, I'm getting FOMO'd at 122, and I've bought most of my Bitcoin Cash, 270 or whatever. So there is that. I don't know if that's possible. I know that you had people on there. Maybe there's a way to throttle the block size down to get more attention on a artificial price to bring people on. And I think, yes, that is a good thing of being able to, I don't think you use the word throttle down, but yes, throttle down the block size and make it profitable and see if people come in. And then, the miners get, I would assume, that maybe it's throttled too, or maybe it's not, but, gain some attention around, we need that price to just kind of, go up to $200-$300 real quick. I don't think the people in the Bitcoin Cash community would start dumping. So I don't think it would be like this detrimental thing where it got out of whack. But I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. I think if it's possible, I think that it would be beneficial for Bitcoin Cash. If we have 100 people in a room and nobody's going to sell if it goes to $1,000, and there's no malicious stuff from the exchanges happening, pump the price and see if the miners can maybe benefit, or the devs can maybe somehow benefit from that, so we can get to the next point, because that's really the main. I think that's the only thing that's hurt Bitcoin Cash over the years, right? Is the price against Bitcoin, which, even though it's not a personal problem to me, somebody viewing it coming in might see that as something they're not interested in if the price is, going up like we've seen on like some of these other coins, Solana and some of these that have newerly came in and ballooned, gone down. But I think that would be a good thing for any of the devs watching. I don't know if it is. I would to see some. Yeah, I would like to see some whatever to do. Obviously there's probably a threshold too, where they see like, oh, well, we're raising the price artificially and these idiots are selling, like, we're going to stop this now and punish them type thing. But it's possible, right? Like, there's people out there that I'm sure can build this kind of stuff in a fashion where it even though it's kind of fake in the short term, we kind of know what's going on, but it's like, okay, well, at least people are coming in, right? So
yeah, well, so you're referencing, there's this really good article that General Protocols put out explaining their kind of position in favor of the block size automatic adjusting, and they had a number of points. They kind of talked about the different options that there were there. You could obviously just have it could just go up or down a fixed amount every 2 weeks or something like that, like the difficulty adjustment. Or obviously you can have a more adaptable, sort of smarter algorithm way of doing it, or you can stick with the current way where the community kind of has to all come together and negotiate and argue about what is the correct value. But that takes a lot of coordinating and distracts a lot of attention away from everybody moving on with the next thing, right? Why don't we just automate it and forget about it? So I was really glad to see people discussing this topic, because if it was going to be in the 2024 upgrade, then people would need to sort of have some kind of agreement on it by November, or if it was going to be the year after, then it would be sort of November of 2024. But we need to have people thinking through these issues and discussing it now. So I was actually really glad to see them jumping in on that topic.
Do you know, and I don't know if you can even share if you do know, but would that be a way to artificially kind of pump the price in the background? If anybody, does that have anything to do, or am I just totally not into?
I don't know. It's not an angle I'd considered before. I don't think there's no intent for it to really impact the price directly. Certainly if the limit was coming down because not enough miners were producing smaller blocks, then part of the reason for the limit is as like spam protection, right? And that would mean that the idea is you have to have a limit so that if you're going over that limit, then it becomes expensive to spam, right? Because if the price per transaction goes from 1 cent to 2 cent, for the end users, it's basically cheap. But for the spammer who has to spam up the whole block, it's twice as expensive, right? And it becomes very expensive very quickly. So that was kind of the idea of the floating upper limit, was if less people, if the miners are mining small blocks, you've got to bring the limit down a bit, because if somebody tries to spam them to overwhelm it, well, it's going to they're going to hit that limit quickly and then be paying a ton of money, and they can't, like if the miners want a 50 megabyte block, they can't just be producing 5 gigabyte blocks. No, the maximum would be whatever, 150, and they would be paying a ton of fees instantly as soon as it hit that. So to the extent that it could impact the price, I think it would be more about the point that maybe the market would respond favorably, in theory, hopefully, if we got an upgrade like that in, because then it would be relieved of any burden. You know, people have these concerns like, what if the community got stalled in another argument, another block size war about BTC, BCH, or BCH, BSV as to what's the correct amount of the block size limit, right? So if we had an automatic adjustment, then maybe the market would say, those guys have fixed that problem and we don't have to worry about scaling getting roadblocked. I think that might be how it would help the price.
Yeah, and it seems like too, if it was like, again, I'm guessing here, but it seems like if the transactions were, if the block sizes were down and they were able to somehow communicate between the spam transactions coming in and real transactions coming in, then, they could build on those transactions coming in. Therefore, if we had an inflow of people coming in, sure, the transaction rate would be more expensive to use, I believe, but also the price would be, the price would go up too at the same time. But again, I'm guessing here. Please take that with a grain of salt. I could be completely wrong from how that works, but it seems like that could be a thing.
Yeah, the chat is just clarifying that the current best proposal from Bitcoin Cash Audist would not lower it further than 32 megabytes. So where we're at, it would not go lower than that. But once something like once a certain number of miners were making bigger than 32 megabyte blocks, it would or were consistently making blocks at or close to that limit, it would start to raise it up, but it could never fall below the current 32, which makes sense because hardware is not going to go backwards. It's not going to get worse. So I
thought the article that I read said something different, but again, I could be wrong. But I think that one that was by General Protocols said, I thought it said something different. So maybe go back and read it on your own. But if they're in the chat saying it, then that might be the case. But I thought it was talking about, maybe they were talking about when it was officially 8 and then they rose it up. Maybe I could be wrong, but it seemed like the article said something a little different. But yeah.
No, it's a really good article. Obviously, we'll have a link to that and people can check it out. So in other news, we've got this is a bit of individual Twitter drama here, but I will be interested to hear Chadwick's take on this. So for the last couple of months, really, I've been poking away, needling here and there on Eric Wall, who's obviously one of the main Taproot Wizards guys with Udi Wertheimer. And he obviously has this personality that he has on Twitter of I'm like the gigabrain smartest guy in the room, which is very ironic because he picked the wrong size of the block size war and now is essentially coming around to the opinions that the BCH community was right, but he's just doing it like step by step and with rationalizations and justifications along the way. So classically, that started last year with him admitting, were we the bad guys? Like the big blockers have some points, which is now enshrined in the intro of this show, right? So over that period of time, my Twitter following has slowly been growing. It used to be maybe 2,000, 2,500, something like this. Now it's 4,600. So my prominence is slowly rising, and I'm getting more and more engagement onto my tweets. So every once in a while, I get in there and I needle him a bit. So he made this post on June 6th using the sarcastic font with weird upper and lowercase letters. But you have to trust a few ETH devs to give you access to your staked ETH, end quote. I wonder what it's like to belong to this group. Are they like in constant awe, blown back of how reality continues to make these weird turns and the unexpected keeps happening over and over? So he's obviously trying to dunk on people that had complaints about how ETH was going to upgrade and said it was never going to work and all that, and then it did, and he's like, you morons, you're surprised by something that was obvious. So I got in there and said to him, I don't know. How did it feel when you realized Lightning Network wasn't going to work? So kind of flipping it around back on him. And for the first time, he was a bit riled up enough to actually reply. So he wrote, you wrong about the on-chain scaling is better than layer 2 scaling. Me wrong about the viability of a specific layer 2 solution. Still seems like you were more wrong here. So I guess his cope apparently.
What was the second part? What was the second part he said? That last.
So he said it still seems like you were more wrong here. So he's kind of saying.
But what did he say after
that?
Lightning. What did he say after that though?
What do you mean? He said okay. So the tweet is quote, you wrong about that on-chain scaling is better than layer 2 scaling. Me wrong about the viability of a specific layer 2 solution. Still seems like you were more wrong here, end quote. So he's saying, he's kind of admitting that he was wrong, that Lightning Network was going to fix everything. But instead of saying, okay, the big blockers were right, layer 1, all that stuff that you and I have been discussing, he's kind of coping a bit and saying, no, some other layer 2 will come up and will save the day. And this kind of caught me off guard because I knew that he was in a bit of cope, but I didn't realize it was this bad. So I
kind of interpreted it a bit different because at the beginning of what he said he was referring to, he made the statement of, and again, I'm going off just what you said. I don't know anything about this guy.
Yeah.
But he said that, maybe you can get some Ethereum devs to basically let you. So it seemed the way I interpreted it was he was trying to kind of say that the layer 2 Ethereum thing didn't work, but he was almost doing like a play on words type thing. And I'm kind of getting a little lost on what I'm saying, but it seems like if you got a reaction of him, he's got nothing to worry about, right? Because if he's a Bitcoin maxi, he probably, he has everything. So it's irrelevant, right? I mean, if people don't like Bitcoin Cash, then they can sell Bitcoin Cash. But if they like Bitcoin, they shouldn't sell Bitcoin Cash, right?
Well, that's exactly right. Yeah. So he was on the wrong side. So this caught me off guard, but he's opened the door here. So he's essentially doubled down on refusing to admit that the Bitcoin Cash position has been correct the whole time, even though in his own words, he's acknowledging that he had it wrong, right? So I said then, the final comment in this thread was, I said, wait, you unplugged from Lightning Network propaganda, but still think some, in quotation marks, layer 2 will appear to save things. Oh man, UTXO layer 1 greater than layer 2 scaling. I haven't seen any evidence that was wrong yet. BCH has struggled, turmoil, etc., but none of it was L1 tech issues. Has always run beautifully, end quote. So I was very specific to throw the word UTXO in there because, like you said, he was kind of in this mindset of like, well, Ethereum is moving to layer 2s, like it's all working out, but the layer 2s on ETH is a completely different story.
Layer 2 Bitcoin, by definition, ETH by definition now, ETH is a layer 2 to Ethereum Classic, not in the sense of the fork or anything to do, but layer 2, it's a staked, Ethereum is staked now, right? You have to have like 132 or whatever Ethereum to run a voting mechanism node or whatever the fuck they call it. So by definition, ETH is a layer 2. It's staked, bro. It's staked. And anybody that holds Ethereum before the DAO hack has both of them too. So they can laugh at each other, back and forth at each other. They have both. And they can make all these smart ass comments or regret comments, whatever, because they have Bitcoin already. People shouldn't worry about this kind of stuff. If they these same people that are kind of like, going back and forth on things like coming over to Bitcoin Cash now, like if you've been in Bitcoin that long, then like it shouldn't matter to you. Like if you've been in Ethereum since before the DAO hack, it shouldn't matter to you. Like these things that matter is because these people are trying to take sides on things because they weren't there in the beginning. If I was,
Bitcoin, that's what this is about, right? Is that Eric and I were on opposite sides of the split, but the key point here is that he has in his mind all these big blockers that he has argued with and dismissed and stuff in the past. But he hadn't watched this show. He didn't really realize what he was getting himself into on this thread. I got him riled up and he just doubled down and said, no, no, you're wrong. But was only been doing this show for 2 years, and I was commenting on Reddit before, but he wouldn't have known or associated it with that. So in him trying to, bite back at me, he kind of bit off more than he could chew. And I think probably the next time that we interact, maybe he will have at least watched some of the show. I don't expect him to watch this segment, but I'm doing this now so I can link it to him later and wreck him with it, right? Yeah. We're just planting the time bomb right now, because at some stage he's going to look back on this segment and think, mate, I've been absolutely wrecked, So the idea is that, he's still in this copium mode about layer 2, but he's now gone on the record as trying to say, no, I'm still right about the layer 2s. There are no successful UTXO layer 2s as far as I'm aware. They don't exist on any chain. There's Lightning is obviously failing on BTC. You've got a Liquid side chain that he absolutely hates, that he doesn't like. He likes Drive chains, but that's vaporware. That hasn't been shipped on any chain because of the scaling roadblocks with BTC Core. Like, all the layer 2 stuff is all on Ethereum, EVM chains. So, and that should be obvious to him. Like, time is going to validate that more and more.
It should be obvious by the 20. It should be obvious by the ERC20 tokens that layer 2 is, sure, that might make the price go up. But let me give you an example for anybody watching this show who's like sitting there watching that's not for Bitcoin Cash, but you're somehow still watching Jeremy's show. And I know there's probably people that are doing that. If
like Eric
Cash, so if Bitcoin Cash was 109 or 107 US dollars and Bitcoin Core was 107 US dollars, same price, would they still be so bullish on Bitcoin Core? And in the same respect, if the hash power was distributed evenly between Bitcoin SV, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Gold, and Bitcoin Core, would everybody still have the same mindset about any of them? So it's very obscure to think of it like that, but it seems like these Bitcoin BTC maxis have basically worked themselves in a position of defending this marketing brand of what BTC is, but they're slowly finding out that at the root core of what Bitcoin really is and what Bitcoin is actually doing in the presence, they're kind of like, okay, I'm sorry now. I want to say I was wrong, despite the market.
But it's hard. Exactly. It's hard for them. It's hard for them to do. It's going to be a huge L for him to take. I understand he has so much cognitive dissonance built up around this, right? But they can't really afford to let it leak out, right? This was a bit of a slip up where I got under his skin and he wrote back to me. But I'm doing it now, I'm talking about it on this show and on these Twitter threads, because my channel is going to keep growing. So it's going to become harder and harder and harder and harder to ignore. And at some point he has to come face to face with the reality of the hole that they've dug himself into. So it was absolutely monstrously stupid to double down. If you're still a Bitcoin maxi saying, because I'm actually a Bitcoin maxi, right? And what I mean by that is Joshua Hensley, when he came on the show after you, Jeremy, he said a really good thing that I really found interesting. I'm actually a Bitcoin maxi, but unfortunately BTC doesn't appeal to me in that fashion. So if you're still a Bitcoin maxi, BTC maxi, and you know everything about where we're at, what's gone on with Bitcoin up till this point in time, and you are still sitting there defending BTC from a peer-to-peer payment system perspective and defending Lightning Network, bro, you're not a Bitcoin maxi. You're not, right? Jeremy, I gotta take a break real quick. I'll be back in 1 minute. Okay, all right. I have a quick little intermission. Jett, get in here. You're loving this. Do you want to leave a message for Eric Wall when we link him to this tweet in 6 months? Link him to this section of the show, and he has to watch it back with 6 months of hindsight, like this was some 4D chess. I mean, we've already got him in the intro. He's been in the intro for 4 or 5 months. So anytime he watches the show, he's gonna, what's going on here? Like, how am I in the intro of this this show?
Yeah, I think the intro kind of is enough of a dunk. Like, because at some point we'll get a little soundbite if he revisits this topic of him being like, shit, we were the bad guys, not questioning it, but just saying, oh, I understand now. and then we'll have that in the intro for a year.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I feel now like I'm in a no-lose position, right? Because he has this whole thing of his tungsten cube bets, which he always is proudly trumpeting around on Twitter, which for people who don't know, and I'm not even the expert on all this, is basically he got in these arguments with these laser eye people where they had some stupid take, and he said, I'll bet you a tungsten cube, which is like the heaviest material on Earth, as kind of a trophy over this exact, whatever stupid point they were making, that Bitcoin would be $1 million in 1 year, or whatever stupid takes they had. And he would know that, so he would bet them a tungsten cube, and he's won about 4 or maybe 3 to 5 of them from different people, like one from Adam Back and one from a couple of other people, right? So he thinks that he's on this next level giga brain knowledge of Bitcoin, and he's calling out people having stupid takes, right? So this is the kind of thing that if my take was really bad, that's completely terrible, it has to be pretty bad before he'll get into the tungsten cubes. But if I was so wrong, it was so easy to dunk on me, he could make a bet with me, or I could challenge him to a bet. But Eric, when you listen back to this, I thought about that, but I didn't do it. Why? Because your best chance to win a tungsten cube bet with me was at the time of this tweet. If you wanted to offer, your odds are only getting worse. And in fact, you will rewatch this segment in 6 months or in 12 months, whenever it is, with the additional time having elapsed and layer 2s obviously not working and Bitcoin Cash going from strength to strength, and think my chances of winning are lower than they would have been in the past. And that's an admission to yourself that you would have lost the bet, right? So in that sense, it's already game over. What can he really do at this point? At some point, he just has to take the public L and say, like, no, I was completely wrong. But we're just going to be in a bit of a journey as to how we get there. And the same thing is kind of happening in a different way with Udi, who has posted today about the fact that he wants Ordinals creators to hit him up and, so that he can collaborate with them and promote their stuff. And he's written to a bunch of people that wrote on his thread. So I put in a response to his thread saying, hey man, check out this episode that we did about Ordinals, exposing all the fraud and lies. But at least let me just quickly check the live on Twitter right now. Has he written back to me? Doesn't look like it. So he's even though my comment has one of the most likes, the most retweets, the most views of all the people that have written back to him about Ordinals, and I've done a 2-hour show just about Ordinals, he can't acknowledge me. It's like the queen who cannot be named. It's Lord Voldemort. I've been thinking a little bit about, we got to get some memes going of that. We're like Voldemort because they can't. It's like the outcast, ultra powerful wizards that nobody was prepared to fuck around with. Everybody just tried to sideline and forget about. That's us, and we're kind of going from strength to strength.
So this is a little bit tangential, but I got into the chat a little bit earlier, and I'm gonna make a public statement for anyone here. Okay, if any listener wants to take me up on this bet, let's go. Okay, we'll have Jeremy be the escrow, or if you even want to have a different trusted third party, we'll make that happen. So whether or not the BCH podcast will be here if the price goes down, I'm willing to keep talking about Bitcoin Cash if we're at a penny. I'll have tens of thousands of Bitcoin Cash if we're at a penny. So my offer is I'll do a 2-to-1 bet, so I'll risk twice as much money as you'll have to pay up. That will be here regardless of the price, and that'll be
over any time frame, right? Whatever time frame they choose. Well, that's the whole thing. That's how this show is set up. I think I've mentioned this before on the show. Maybe we've just been talking about it in Telegram, right? But it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? And that's the whole point with the Twitter clout as well, too, is that on my profile, it says following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency, right? And if you look at that and I have 1 Twitter follower or 5 Twitter followers, this guy is a delusional idiot. When I have 100, it's like, okay, what is this small account? When I have 1,000, it's like, okay, I don't know. This is like obviously an active account, a few people involved. Now it's coming close to 5,000, but really the next big breakpoint is like 10,000. It's like people are listening to this. Like it might not be, I don't know who it is, or is there some bots? What's going on here, right? And at 100,000, like the more it's self-fulfilling prophecy. The more people join, the more realistic my prediction becomes, and the more people join, which is the whole way Bitcoin adoption always happened since the beginning. Whatever Satoshi said, like if a few people think that it might catch on and they get some, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's the exact same thing, and that's the same problem that these taproot wizards are going to have with trying to ignore the Bitcoin Cash community just dunking on them, because they can't wait us out, because we're just going from strength to strength and they're getting weaker and weaker over time. So I'm really looking forward to the next 6 to 12 months. So I guess we'll kind of leave it at that. I don't know, Chadwick, do you have any final thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest, Jeremy. I don't know too much about what you were talking about, but I would assume that me not being on Twitter has a lot to do with it. And I would say that likely, Jeremy, most of more people might be following you and watching you and having an impact. Not just an impression, an actual impact on what you're saying. And I think the impact is better than any good impression that any kind of Twitter would try to elude their following to believe. So I think that, just keep doing what you're doing, and you'll keep getting what you're getting. And in your case, you're getting some feedback from this guy, this whatever this guy is. And, a lot more people could be watching it than, his fake following or his illusion might be following. And I think that applies to anybody taking on any endeavor in life, but especially crypto. You just never know who might be watching and who might be supporting and who might be trolling or, in this case, hiding from what you're saying.
Exactly. That's also a very good point. Is that at the size it's at now, at 5,000, followers.
Is that good for a Twitter following? I haven't been on Twitter.
Oh, it's like a minnow size. Like once you get into the 10Ks, you're like becoming a bit of a player, and like at 100K, you're kind of up there, and at 1 million, you're like a mega whale, right? So obviously, it's just like slowly building up. But you're spot on, which is that if you have 4,000 people following, that means that maybe 40,000 people are kind of aware of your account, because they've seen it being retweeted or they looked at it, or like in this case, it's not that my account is so small that Eric can really afford to ignore it anymore. It's already, even though he has 120,000, something like that. So at 4K, like at 100 in his mind, he can just write it off. Like, who is this nonsense idiot with Bcash? They're done. Like, see you later. He can rationalize that. But at 4,000, it's already getting to the point of like, this is a good point, and people are listening to what he's saying. So yeah, it's just kind of a funny thing. But Eric and Udi, you guys better start coming to the truth, because if you keep up with this delusion, I'm gonna crank up the heat. So you can
maybe crank it up, Jared.
Okay. Next topic we got here. We got hash is king, which I think is my thought that I've been having around some more sort of positive branding and ideas for Bitcoin Cash. I was watching the Digital Cash Rundown with Joel and Esteban, and they were talking about how, they're kind of on board with this whole, the Bcash is a right kind of thing. They've sort of come to that point of view. However, what they made excellent points about is that it kind of doesn't matter, and that previous slide just proves it, right? Okay, it doesn't matter if I can really win a Twitter argument with Eric Wall. We need to actually drive massive demand on chain. We need to get a bit of action going in our community. The proof is in the pudding. Like, being right in theory, nobody cares. You got to be right in practice. So for that vibe, we kind of need some more catchier or more viral like branding maybe. So I was thinking about it. I thought, okay, there was some discussion in the Telegram, people throwing back and forth different ideas about creating a new niche that BCH can dominate, kind of like XMR has privacy coins, and BTC has store of value, and ETH has smart contracts. We need a niche like that. So I kind of thought, well, maybe if we had the phrase, like, if you had Bitcoin Cash is king, so you could have the little Bitcoin BCH B, and then just write Cash is king after that. So it's, people already know that phrase, but then it's kind of becoming Bitcoin Cash is king in people's mind. What do you think about that? Is that a cool slogan?
Yeah, Yeah, I do think it's. Are you asking me or Jett too?
Yeah. Well, either just chip in, man, in the chat.
Yeah. I
Whoever
think
wants-
I think it's good. Yeah, I think it's good. I think I've always had the idea too. If this crypto stuff goes in the way I think it's going to go, I've been wanting to go down to the Bitcoin conference. And I want to. This is something I've thought about for a few years. Actually, I've been wanting to go down there and basically set up a free luncheon, and basically go down to, because I believe the convention center is where it's held. That's in Miami Beach, actually. And, rent like some kind of main street license or whatever you have to do. And then basically just, out of my own money, basically just, buy thousands of dollars worth of food and have a bunch of people just come over and get a burger or a burrito and kind of bring back crypto. Is supposed to be fun again. You can donate in Bitcoin Cash, or maybe, you get one Satoshi, 1/10 to the -8 Bitcoin Cash, for eating a burger, for opening up a wallet type thing, and just kind of make it this fun thing, and maybe have some hot girls in bikinis, since it's Miami, who kind of be sitting there serving up the burgers, something very unexpected for people going to a Bitcoin conference. Just come over here and I'll match you whatever Bitcoin you have in your wallet. If you're a whale, we'll have to talk. But if you hold 0.5 Bitcoin, come on over. We'll give you some Bitcoin Cash to have a free burger and look at these hot women in bikinis blaring some music, that kind of thing. Because Miami is a good city. I think that would be just a cool thing, just like a booth or something, off to the side of the road, or just something, people walking up, they're like, well, what the fuck is going on here? Free burgers. I'm going to there, I'm going to walk on over. So it's always been something I wanted to do. Bitcoin Cash is king. Bitcoin Cash is fun. Those type of things.
Yeah. Well, that sounds sick. I would donate to a flip starter, consider next year, maybe, consider running a flip starter, because I would throw in a coin maybe to that to get you down there with some models and by the side of the road, just having,
it'd be great publicity.
Yeah, that's right. That would be so good.
Great marketing scheme. Cyberpunks, hardcore Bitcoin cashers end up across the street with free burgers to, 10,000 whatever people going to the Bitcoin conference. I mean, what a better way to spread the fun and the reality of Bitcoin Cash. It's supposed to be fun, right?
I don't know if you're aware of the meme, but can you also have Costco hot dogs?
Yeah, and we'll make them $1.50 like they've been. It can be like the hot dog stable coin of minted on Bitcoin Cash. Maybe we can do something fun with like cash tokens or something. I don't know.
Yeah, so like the price telegram group is BCH Big Costco Hot Dog.
Yeah, I love it.
Man.
$1.50 US. Come by and get your hot dog.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be looking forward to seeing that because, I think things might trend. Well, one thing that we do need to do is we just need to have more of our own conferences where we can do some fun stuff like that. But obviously, with all how chaotic everything has been and the price and, how small the community is, we're not kind of at that clout size yet that we can be having. Like, obviously, we had BCH 22, which was awesome, but, we'll see like when the next one might be in 23 or maybe in 24. Even, but there's going to need to be a big surge in the scene. What I'm actually expecting is going to happen is if BCH starts kicking off, instead of us needing to come up with all these conferences and whatever, instead what will happen is the existing conference operators that run other sort of crypto things will see that there's a niche for BCH themed stuff, and they'll kind of start appearing in our scene or running, in collaboration with some existing people in the scene, maybe, so we don't need to kind of from scratch learn how to do all that ourselves. I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna say something. So in that RBTC thing that we were talking about earlier, there's this part of it that says there's this socio-economical. I don't think the split, but basically what I interpreted from this was if you make the Bitcoin Cash podcast, aka Jeremy, a Bitcoin millionaire. You might already be, but if you make Jeremy,
I'm not. I would like to
make Jeremy a millionaire, you have all these other great things happening that Jeremy does. So you make Jett a millionaire, you make me a millionaire, who basically we're just doing all this stuff for free, which is fine. I'll still do the exact same thing and go through the same motions. But I'm saying the way I interpreted from that RBTC thread was you have this social economical where you have a divergence of all these people that are in the community already, but yet they're able to do so much more for the community now that the price is ballooned or whatnot. It's almost like putting us back 10 years ago. If you were in Bitcoin, or maybe you were, maybe you weren't, if you had access to all this money now, would you be doing so much more? Or if we give the money to people that are already in it, well, look what they've done. It hasn't been much. So, you have that two sides of the coin type deal. And I think one side is, you have a lot of people doing a lot of stuff. And then you have some people that are just not doing that much, that are, make all three of us a millionaire and see what happens, right? You have so much more output, right? Because it's all tied, it might not be tied to the price now, but it gives you the mobility of doing so many more things in a different direction. Jett might want to do something that he's been wanting to do for, 5 years. You might do a thing that you wanted to do for the last 5 years. And you have all these people doing all these things they've wanted to do that's had this restriction on, we're already doing it if the price is down. Can you imagine if the price was up? We'd be able to spend some of our stuff, be a little bit more able, right? So, it's just an idea.
No, it's spot on, and it's a very important point that people need to understand is the Bitcoin Cash community. With all the price declines and stuff, the price declines is not really a problem in the sense that people are posting on Twitter the graph of the price going down, and fuck off, like that doesn't matter. But what does matter is that the community's resources are quite limited, and like you say, what goes down can also go up. So if that switches around, whoever is listening to the show who's picking up some coins and stuff now, then once the price goes, like I think people like Eric Wall, like anybody else, they don't really think that through properly. That wait a second, these guys have been getting wrecked on the price chart, but they're still here putting up pretty good numbers. Like, how is this happening? Where is all this money coming from?
I don't know who Eric Wall is, but why would he be so concerned about putting down the guys that the price is going down? It's like, why is somebody so concerned about kicking the guy who's down? We're already down in price. So if everything's predicated on just price and we're still here, why are you coming to shit on our party, dude? Like, we know the price is down. We're still here. And you're like coming over here to like put us down when we're already down, and like stating the obvious with price, like, oh, we failed doing these things. I don't know who Eric Wall is.
Well, I'm gonna just to clarify, he was not getting involved in any of these price stuff, but I think in his mind, it's easy for him to think, oh, these are just these fringe, they're gone, they were wrong kind of thing. And people don't really understand, well, if the price is down and we're all so broke and whatever, which is may or may not be true, it's up to, individual cases. How does stuff keep getting done? And the fact is, because there's such an organic, grassroots, passionate community, like Jett was just offering there, to just take a price bet with anybody, because like passion can last you no matter what the price is, and eventually that will turn the corner on like results that the market responds to, right?
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
All right, cool. So we got meme of the week. Yeah, I think you'll like this one, actually. This one might be up your alley. So it comes from Barry Silbert, who of course was famously involved in crypto and runs BCHG and involved in all these tokens and stuff. And he's also known for really liking Ethereum Classic and also Zcash for some reason. So he was talking about in relation to this SEC crackdown that we're talking about. On Twitter, he said, no proof of work tokens in any of the lawsuits, I believe. BTC, LTC, XMR, ETC, ZEC, etc. And then this guy here at Riddle245 absolutely roasted him with that meme of the guy finding a butterfly and not realizing that it's a butterfly, but thinking it's whatever, thing it has in the mind. So he's got the guy is labeled Barry, and then he's got the butterfly labeled massive crypto lawsuit. And then he's got, is this an opportunity to shill my bags? And it's just so true, because every single time Barry Silbert can jam the words ETC and ZEC into anything, he will do it. So that just made me laugh so hard when I saw that, because it's so true. It's been happening for years. I don't know. What do you think? Are you a big memer there?
Well, I thought it was kind of interesting to that he chose Ethereum Classic Zcash, particularly in the meme, simply because if we look at what Ethereum has become, which is a proof of stake, and we look at what Zcash is proposed to be, which is a proof of stake, yet it's mineable now.
Yes.
You know, I always like to think there's something going on that I don't see, because there's always something, it's some kind of interpretation that I don't see on just what is being presented. So I think, you know, I don't really have any comments to say. Am I a meme guy?
All right.
If it's the right meme.
Okay, all right. If it's the right meme. Okay, we got last.
I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm sitting here looking at it. You know, I'm trying to figure
Meme
out
decoding.
All right. I don't get it. You know?
Okay. All right. Okay, fair enough. All right. Message to the community. As we always have on this show, every guest gets a chance to talk to the Bitcoin Cash community. Open slather. What do you think people need to hear?
I think people need to hear that we've got to get back to the root core of what this stuff is. We have to get back to it's time to get back to the basics. It's time to get back to making cryptocurrency fun again. And it's time that everybody in the Bitcoin Cash community does more. We have to do more on every angle. We have to seize every opportunity. And even though these opportunities, you know, there's opportunities that we see every day in crypto that we could do more. And I think everybody should do more. If everybody's not doing the most they should, everybody should ask themselves why. Why are we not making Bitcoin? If the Bitcoin Cash can be better, then why are we not making it better? And that should just be a mindset that I think the crypto community should have. And I think a lot of people in the community that have been around in Bitcoin for 10 plus years, you know, however long they've been in crypto, they've had this mindset, but they should also be open to the fact that even they can do better. If we can do better, we should be doing better. If we can do more, we should be doing more. And I'm not saying we're not doing good already. I'm just saying if there's room to be better, you know, let's close that gap. Let's make cryptocurrency, you know, for everybody. Let's move it where we want to move it. And I think that is kind of the closing statement I'll say.
No, absolutely. Love that. 100% agree. Better, faster, stronger type of vibes. Love that. Okay, we got our supporter appreciation. As always, thank you to our donators. Thank you to patrons, Ricky and HP. Thank you to our sponsor, General Protocols. Check out bchbull.com. Thank you to the Flipstarter contributors, Majamalu, Marcelo, Renegade, Cheap Lightning, Emergent Reasons, Unspent.app, Molecular, Bitcoin Cash Orders, Mini Satoshi, and Callisti.cash. That was for episodes 76 to 85. So this is the second to last one. We'll do one more episode and then we've fulfilled our obligations there. We might see about running another one. So we'll get into that as relevant. But just a note, obviously, you know, we promised and we've delivered. There you have it. So then we got final shout outs for the show, of course. But for that, if anybody's interested in reading more about all this, especially if you're new to the show, if this is your first time watching, if your name's Eric Wall and you don't really understand Bitcoin, then check out bitcoincashpodcast.com. Read up on the start guide, the FAQs.
You're still well invited to come over, man. We're
yes.
still come on, Eric, you know, come on over. You don't have to, you know, people don't have to be afraid of what we're doing here. People should like what Jeremy's doing. I like it. So come on over, you know, join the movement. That's what this is supposed to be.
Absolutely. And so final shout outs, and where can people find you? Obviously your channel, Cryptocurrency Theory, but is there anything else you want to shout out or direct people to at the end of the show?
That's it. That's the only place I got right now.
All right. Cryptocurrency Theory.
Come on by. Come check us out. You know, here to be part of cryptocurrency. And Jeremy, love watching your show as well, and appreciate everything that you and Jett are doing specifically for cryptocurrency and you know, making this stuff better and better every day.
Cheers. Jett, any final shout outs?
I feel like the viewers should almost expect it at this point, considering the last couple shout out. Shout out to my dad. Happy Father's Day, everyone. And shout out to my brother for, having recently his second child.
All right, there we go. It's actually not Father's Day in Australia, I found out. So I'm gonna skip on on that one. My shout out goes to JoeRogan because he has just been crushing it on the podcast game. He's just about to hit his 2000th episode. Absolutely unreal. I was watching earlier today the RFK Jr. episode. Still need to get through the rest of that, but the amount of quality information and discussion and just thought-provoking stuff. It's never that you watch his show and you need to agree with everything that he says or the guest thinks or anything like that, but he's amazing at getting a very dense amount of very high-quality information out of very important people in a context where there's so much censorship and media narratives. So that's my shout out. Jett, you're going to get in there with that.
Well, it's good that, massive successful podcasters like you still give shout outs to the little guys. I mean, I'm sure Joe will get a boost off of it.
Exactly. Might get a few new downloads. We got to help out the poor struggling artists in our community, So that will do it for the show. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and until next time.
So I started realizing that if you can just find strength just a little bit longer, you will have a crew of people following you along the way.
And that is another thing that no one can ever teach you. Because you're going to have to learn that on your own. You're going to have to figure out how to pull that energy out of your mind on your own. There's no book you can read that all of a sudden I have it. I've got the technique now. I know how to do it.
Yeah.
No, it's a grind that you have to start and finish on your